So, hello, good day, my brothers and sisters. Um, Today is the 27th of June, 2017, and I wanted to post another dream that I had. This one is one of the ones that really kind of shook me to the core. When I think about the dream, even now, I can still feel what I felt at that time. So quickly, the dream was where I was at my dad's house, my father, my dad, and my somebody was with me. I'm not sure who it was that was with me. It was a little girl, and we were inside of a room. And when we came out of the room, I knew then that we were at my dad's house, and my dad has a home that is old craftsman style home. And so when we came into the through the doorway, I knew that it was his house, but there's no door where I came out of. And so anyhow, the little girl goes out and she's dancing around and skipping and just so happy. And the reason I had said that it was a craftsman style home is on the floor they have the grates, the old grates for the heat. And I had noticed there was one by the front door, and where there's really not one in the natural, but there was one by the front door. And so I went over to it and I noticed that it had a hole in it. And I started kicking at it, and all of a sudden I was down on my knees looking through it. I was peering through it, and I could see the sun shining outside. But what I noticed was there was something blowing in the wind, and it looked like someone had punched through a plastic bag. It looked like a plastic bag had been placed on it to cover it up, but it had been punched through. And that's what I felt at the time after I woke up, was that a hole had been punched through. And as soon as I saw that, immediately I felt fear. I knew something had happened. And so I jumped up on my feet and I said to the little girl, we've got to go. We've got to get back in the room. And so I tried to grab her hand, and she kept pulling away from me. And the more I tried to grab her hands, the more she was pulling away from me. She was just so happy and skipping. And so all of a sudden, I go to the doorway where we came out of, and I'm standing there in the doorway calling her to come, come, come. And all of a sudden, she just stopped and she looked at me, and she turned around and she ran down the hallway. And the hallway in the natural doesn't exist. And so she had run down the hallway, and I was calling for her and calling for her, and she just wouldn't respond. She was gone. And then all of a sudden, I felt this fear that came over me like never before. And I started hearing something like boom, boom, boom. And I knew something was coming towards me. I didn't know what it was, but I was so afraid. And I put my head down. And as the person approaches, comes out of the hallway, I scan from the bottom, so from the feet upward. And I noticed the person had sandals on their feet, and they had like a dashiki, I think that's what it's called, those long gowns on. And I started scanning up, and I noticed that the person had a ring on their right hand, and the ring was round. It was significant. I know that I kept staring at it. It was important, and I don't know why. And I also noticed that the skin was dark. It was a dark pigmentation. Not like a black person, but more like Middle Eastern maybe, or I just knew that they were from another place, other than, your Anglo-Saxon, just regular people that you see here in the United States. And so anyhow, as I'm scanning upward, I get to where the head is, where I could see the face, but what I saw was this thing that had been wrapped around the head. And it was like where the Sikhs wear the head covering, like that. But it was not just wrapped around the hair, it was wrapped around the face. So many times where all you could see were the eyes. And when the person was standing there in the doorway, I felt like the person was like finally I'm here, such arrogance I felt, such pride and just so proud, and just standing there like, yeah, I'm finally here. And then all of a sudden, the man takes his right hand and reaches over to the left side of his face, and he pulls down the face covering, and I screamed. And I don't know what I saw. I woke up, but I had screamed so loud that my family heard it. My kids heard it. They heard me screaming, and I couldn't go back to sleep that night. It was the dream was in December, late November, early December. I have it down. I just don't. I should have looked at it before I made the recording. But anyhow, needless to say, I knew that this person is a very important person, and that this person is someone that someone that's been waiting to come for a long time. Now, I don't know if they were waiting to come. When I say waiting to come, I don't know exactly what it is that they were waiting to do, but I just have this sense that, I'm here. I'm finally here on the scene, and this pride and this arrogance, and just like, like finally, like, yeah, now I can get down to business. And I felt fear, and so I started, praying about it, and I was crying. It was just, even now when I think about it, it's just, wow, overwhelming, the feeling that I had. And I started praying about it, and I was talking to my husband about it, and we were just, going over the dream. And then there was at one point where we were talking about the little girl, what she represented in the dream. Was she the church? Was she the church leaving? The church going towards the danger? Or was she the church leaving? Rapture. But all I know is she was gone. But I feel like she did represent the church. She was all in white. She had a white dress on. She was young, a young little girl. She was so happy, and she didn't have fear at all. And so, I'm not quite sure about the dream, but I'm putting it out here for you guys, my brothers and sisters in the Lord, that, if you have any sort of interpretation or sense one way or the other of what you feel it means, or anything you think I need to know, please, if you would comment, I would greatly appreciate it. I was talking to my my oldest son, and we were talking about what friends are, and what friendship means for people that are in the church. And it's different, I feel, than it was when I was friends with people when I was not saved. And we have to be so careful who we hook up with, who we interact with. We're not supposed to be hermits. We're not supposed to be off by ourselves, doing our own thing. We're here right now. God has us here for a purpose, and each one has their own individual giftings, their giftings that they're supposed to operate in. And so, with that being said, I just feel like we need each other, and we need to come together, and as the church, as a body of believers, and we need to uplift each other, and we need to formulate relationships. And as time is getting closer for the Lord's return, we're supposed to gather together even more so. And it doesn't mean just inside of a church building or having church activities. We are the church. And so we're supposed to come together and support one another. I need my brothers and sisters in the Lord, because I can't walk this by myself. I mean, we all have our own individual walk and relationship with the Lord, but when we're coming together as one, it's so powerful. It's such a powerful thing, and it's what God wants us to do. It's very, very important. And so I don't want to ramble. I'm just kind of putting that out there for just to let you know where my head is at, kind of like. And so, again, any comments, any sort of thing you want to interject, any sort of comments, anything at all, I would greatly appreciate it. And that will conclude another one of my dreams, one of many. So anyhow, you guys be blessed. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and love you much. All right.